Ladies and gentlemen, dear guests, dear friends of the MCI, I hope you are healthy and safe wherever you may be now. Welcome to our students, to our alumni, to our friends and partners, partner universities from all over the world, to a special warm welcome to the participants of the Economic Forum of South Tyrol, which would normally have taken place today, face-to-face, including our distinguished guest of today, Herman Mashaba, but let me assure you, it has only been postponed to April 16th and not been cancelled. But now, let me express a very, very warm welcome to our distinguished guest of today, Herman Mashaba. Great to have you with us.
Thank you very much, Professor Altman and the university for really asking me to be part of such a great event. I'd really take it as an opportunity and a privilege. So therefore, thank you very much and good afternoon, everyone, people from all over the world who are watching this.
Now, Herman Mashaba is a true African idol. Yeah? He is being perceived as one of the hopes of Africa. He is a true African leader. You know, when we sent out the invitation, Herman, I received many positive emails telling, now, how come you have managed to bring Herman Mashaba to Austria? The Austrian ambassador gave me a call, the Austrian ambassador to Pretoria, and so many people, they are excited that we have you now online together with our students and the guests I've been already mentioning. Now, with your in your early childhood, yeah, a very humble childhood, and your further development, your startup company, Black Like Me, and so on, you have been making a very, very interesting career, and you became a millionaire. You took office as a mayor of Johannesburg, to put an end to the prevailing mismanagement. And now you are about to renew Africa with your dynamically growing movement, People's Dialogue. The topic of today, Herman, is running away is not the answer. Now, how come you chose this title? It seems to be somehow your life motto. Did this life motto, is this in your genetic code? Did you feel such a motto, running away is not the answer, already in your early childhood? What would you say?
Well, such a good question. I think, let me be honest with the audience, because, sometimes people don't really understand the DNA of human beings. And I'm not obviously an expert in DNA and human physiology. But I believe my life actually started in around about December of 1958. My father used to work in Johannesburg, used to come home as and when, and December of 1958, I don't know, my mother and father, whether an accident of them getting together, enjoying themselves or something, because that's when I was conceived and got out of my mother's body, jumped out actually. I didn't even get out. I jumped out on the 26th of August, 1959, 9 months later. So that's when I started. I started to this couple, my mother and father. As I say, I don't know, because they're not there to tell me whether I'm a plain child or I'm a product of their enjoyment. But fortunately enough, 26th of August, jumped out of my mother's body, and that's how I got exposed to this world. And on the day when I was brought into this world, my grandfather, who used to work as a security officer for one of the municipalities in Pretoria, in one of the townships in Pretoria called Garankuwa, used, for some reason, in August, my grandfather used to have been at home. And on that particular day, the entire village knew that her son is born, and called me Hyman, and the whole village knew me, and I grew up being called Hyman. And this old man, for some reason, played such a key role in my development, because I lost my father when I was 2 years old. So by the time I opened my eyes to this world, when I was, what, 5, 6, that's when you realize who you are. And all of a sudden, both my parents were not there at home. And then I was told my father died when I was 2. And then my mother used to be was the one responsible for looking after us, living in a 2-roomed tin structure. Security guard. Really, I meant everything to him. I really credit my relationship. But then when I was growing up, I sometimes that my grandfather's expectations of me were very unreasonable, because my grandfather, from the day I was born until he died, he insisted and pushed me to be successful. He pushed me to be independent. He taught me not said, oh, you always used to say to me, please believe what people do than what they say. Listen to them. But at the end of people about what they is, don't allow yourself to be controlled by other people. You must always be yourself. And I remember growing up, the elder sister, the one after the one I come after, you know, we used to love each other, but we used to fight a lot. And she used to beat me up, calling me a stubborn person. So I've always been really to myself. So this world will never really control me. I'm always in charge of my own life, and I'm always a very proactive person. But this wisdom actually comes from my grandfather, who died in 1977. I was still at school at the time, but I really give him credit for really making me who I am, because he allowed and taught me not to rely on other people. And what I seen what's happening in my country and most parts of the world, the white nations fail, is because politicians take over the lives of people and control them. They deprive them of education. They make them poor so that they can really control them. And that's something that I find really very unfortunate. I find it to be evil. I'm a God-fearing human being. And when I see these political leaders doing this to poor people, it makes me really very angry. It makes me very sad. And I call it evil because honestly, it is evil to deprive people of their own human rights and allow them to fly and be the best they can be.
Herman, you have also been sending us a presentation, which we have been making public at our website. So if anyone wants to look at our website at mci.edu/livetalk, the one where you can follow our live stream, below this video live stream, you can see the presentation, and some of your childhood and your further development has been described here. So feel free to parallelly look at the presentation if you like, whoever is joining us for this distinguished guest online live talk. And you also out there may be sending us questions. We would be happy to bring in questions from the audience at a later stage. The questions will go to me, and I will do my best to present them to our distinguished guest. Now, Herman, your grandfather has been playing a great role, and also your sister in loving you and also fighting with you and once in a while beating you up. But then what was the next steps? I mean, then somehow you had obviously school education, and you call it a short university education, I assume, but you somehow became an entrepreneur. How did this occur, this development?
Well, I think you can imagine growing up under the apartheid regime, because I was born a year after H.F. Verwoerd, the architect of apartheid. I don't know if people of the world are aware, the main architect of apartheid was a gentleman, to call him a gentleman, called H.F. Verwoerd. Became the Prime Minister of South Africa in 1958, and I was born a year later. So I was born in totally abnormal environment, because H.F. Verwoerd and the National Party, if they hadn't, if they could really have their way, they would have obviously exterminated us as black people. But obviously, because they needed our labor, we survived. That's why apartheid was declared a crime against humanity over time. So I was born and raised in that kind of environment with no parental supervision whatsoever. But I felt at the time that the only way I was going to attain my freedom was through education. And managed to go to university in 1979. I passed my matric in 1978. 1979, I went to university just over 300 kilometers away from home. In the meantime, Pretoria University, a good university, which was half an hour's drive from my village to Pretoria. Unfortunately, at the time, the university was only for whites. So I had to go all the way to up north. I'd never been to this place before in my life. I had to figure out on my own, organize myself, get trains to get to Petersburg at the time in the morning, get a bus at 9 o'clock. So I did all this myself, because my mother had no means to assist me in this regard. Unfortunately, second year of my studies, one morning, 6 o'clock, the university was shut down by the army, surrounded, and we were given 6 hours to leave the university. They said, by 12 o'clock, we don't want to see a single student here. Obviously, at that time, because for 2 weeks, we had student boycott. So instead of addressing our grievances, they decided to send us back to our respective homes. And I remember on that particular day, I did not even have a cent to go back home, which is over 300 kilometers away. You can imagine 1980, we did not have cell phones. In fact, at home, we did not even have a normal phone at home. But fortunately enough, I managed to get home very angry at the time. By the time I got home, I really felt really very angry. That's why when I think about a month or so, when they called us back to university to reopen, I decided I'm not going back. I said, no, there's no point going back. Let me rather change this environment. That's one of the things that my grandfather taught me, to say, look, one thing that you are lucky about as a human species, God has given you this little brain. Please always use this brain to navigate your challenges. Don't use emotion, use your little brain to navigate your challenges. So I wanted to actually go out there for military training. At the time, black youth like my age, we all wanted to go for military training. At the time, it was only the Soviet Union which was providing the resources to train us throughout Southern Africa, you know. And for some reason, Andreas, for me, God had another plan for me. Because to leave the country at the time, you needed very strong context, because it was not a question that you can get into a train or a bus to get out of the country. We had no passports, so the government would not really give you a passport. So you had to really live through illegal means, but you have to have a very good, reliable content. And fortunate enough for me, and I say fortunate in the true sense of the meaning, that I was fortunate enough, God decided to protect me for being exposed to the Soviet Union nonsense. I call it nonsense and education. In fact, yesterday I was addressing another group of South African businessmen to say, look, you know, I was lucky that if I'd left the country, I would probably be one of the most corrupt politicians, because it looks like the Soviets were training those people who went out when we thought they were going out to train, military training to collapse the apartheid government. In the meantime, it looks like they were training them to be corrupt, to come back, take over the country and loot it to the ground. Because you can imagine, we are 26 years into our democracy. Our country is literally broke as I talk to you. We just got the GDP numbers 2 days ago, sitting at 51% contraction. We're sitting in a country, before COVID-19, we were sitting already at 39% unemployment rate. We have the highest sustainable unemployment rate in the world. We are the most unequal society in the world. We're the meta capital of the world. We're the most corrupt country in the world. You know, I can really go on and on in terms of the indicators of how bad things have shaped up. It is for that reason I then felt running away is not an option. So when you requested me for the title of my speech, I said running away is not an option. And I take myself when I could not really live for military training. I decided to work. I worked for a salary in my life for 30 months, 2 companies, one for 7 months, one for 23 months. And during that time, when I turned 22, I realized I was getting old. And I said, Herman, you are getting old. Your grandfather said you've got to succeed. And working for someone, you're not going to succeed. You've got to do something. And at the time, in South Africa, black people were not allowed to go into business. But I decided P.W. Botha was the prime minister at the time. I said, the racist government is not going to determine my destiny. I'm going to go into business anyway. And then decided to start saving money to buy a car, to become a trader, selling whatever I could get from the boot of my car. But before buying a car, decided also another wisdom in my life that I took at the age of 22 was to get married, because I felt to go into business, I needed stability in this troubled world. And I'm so glad, here am I, 38 and a half years later, my wife is still my #1 friend. And I look at the 38 years of our marriage has been one of the most rewarding part of my life and the role that she's played. So I got married, bought a car, resigned, and became a trader. 1983 came across a company in Johannesburg selling hair care products, and I joined them on a commission basis. I sold for them for 19 months. In the 19 months, I was their top salesman. And obviously, with the teaching from my grandfather, as much as at the time I was earning more than double most of the white South Africans were getting, and because of the legislation. But on commission basis, I wasn't working for, I was working for myself. But I still felt vulnerable that I've got to do something, because one day this guy is going to get rid of me because of how much I'm earning. With what he's paying me, can get 3 more other salesperson, and he won't have nothing to lose. I put his product, his product was #1 hair care product in the market. I decided I'm not going to wait for him to decide for me. That's when I put together the like-minded South Africans. I said, guys, let's go and go and manufacture this product ourselves, including actually asking a white person, an Afrikaner for that matter, who was the production manager, because I was a trader. What did I know about manufacturing of hair products? I took a chance. I approached this white guy. I said, Johan, you can make this stuff. Joseph and I, we can sell the stuff. We'll raise the money. And everything else is history. The business has been running now since we started manufacturing January of 1985 with a 30,000 rands loan, which I had 3 years to repay. I paid it back in 7 months. By 1989, I had already built myself a 6,000 square meter factory, state-of-the-art cosmetic manufacturing factory. I did not owe anyone a cent. By the time the new South Africa was born in 1994, I voted for Nelson Mandela, became a citizen of my country. I became a human being and a proud South African. Unfortunately, a few years later, the ANC of Nelson Mandela turned out to be something else. The teachings that they received from the Soviet Union, which the Soviet Union unfortunately did not get a chance to re-educate them. Because you remember the Soviet Union collapsed in 1989. And 1990, that's when FW de Klerk started bringing changes, releasing of political prisoners and banning of political parties. So the Soviet didn't get an opportunity to re-educate the ANC people about a new progressive system. So right now, we've got a government that's actually practicing the failed system of the Soviet Union under Stalin and others. So we suffer from that level of corruption, mismanagement, strong patronage network, keeping people poor, dependent on the state. For them, government is like some kind of an animal that they've got to loot. That's why we've got such high unemployment, our economy suffering so badly. And I think privileged South Africans like myself, I feel we can't just sit back and run away from this problem. Because life is not just really about money. It's about obviously taking the responsibility and serious responsibility. And I really feel obliged as a privileged South African over the last 38 odd years of my successful business career. And I felt, and I spoke to my family, and they gave me the full support to say, look, it's either we run away or someone has got to do something. And if it's you, if it is not you, who else? And I'm really grateful that my family is really very supportive. My wife and my daughter are looking after our family interest while I'm trying my best to ensure that we can save South Africa from this big hole we're in. We're in a deep hole, and the government is busy digging this hole on a daily basis. But I'm really hopeful that the silent majority, what I call the silent majority, actually I wrote an opinion piece yesterday. You can check it. I don't know if I said it to you, asking the silent majority, because majority of South Africans over the last few years, they are staying away from voting because they claim not to have an alternative. And now we are run by government which is losing support over the last few years. The support of the ANC, just to give an example, in 2009, they received 69%. 2014 received 62%. Last year, with the president, the current president, who was very popular with the business community and everyone, got 57%. So you can see this is a dying organization. But what happened is with South Africans, 18.5 million South Africans stayed away from voting, as opposed to 17.5 who voted. And ANC was voted by under 10 million. So you can imagine if the silent majority that are unhappy with what's happening in South Africa, if they had gone out to vote, would have already dislodged the ANC out of power. And those are the people I'm actually targeting to really ask them to really wake up. So I've really started on this campaign. I released it when I was launching my own political party 2 weeks ago. Yesterday, I wrote an opinion piece. I'll send you that opinion piece. You can share it with your audience as soon as I'm done with you, so that we get people to really wake up and go out and vote. You know, I want to live in a society where us as citizens of the country, we must actually be the bosses, not the politicians. And the only way that can happen is when people actually go out and vote. And that's what I'm asking South Africans, because we cannot go back to dictatorial kind of government that does not have the mandate. And the only way the government must have the mandate is that's when people go out and vote. And my view and my very, very strong belief is that I hope that we can pass laws before I die in this country where we force people, it must be mandatory for people to go out and vote, because it's important when politicians can know that civil society is awake and active and hold the politicians accountable. So in our country right now, with the failures, people decide to stay away. I think it's because of perhaps living for many years under oppression. People are under impression we're still oppressed. People still, some of our people, unfortunately, still have a mental approach as if we're still slaves, that we are still under apartheid. They feel powerless. People don't realize that 18.5 million, yeah, that the power is in us. So I'm embarking on that education to really get South Africans to say, please, running away is not an option. Participate. You don't have to take a difficult positions like I've done to go direct into public office. Public office, it's a tough job, very. I mean, for me, the 3 years as a mayor of the city of Johannesburg, honestly, on a daily basis, waking up to go to my office was the same as going to war. I felt like I was going to war because I was running a 7-way coalition arrangement. You can imagine someone coming from the private sector with no direct political experience, and I had to really run this coalition arrangement, taking over the biggest city in South Africa, in fact, in Africa, run it under a 7-way coalition arrangement. It was difficult. And at the same time, the entire administration dominated by ANC patronage network. So it was really difficult, but at the same time was the most rewarding 3 years of my life.
Herman, may I come in here? I have actually now a comment to our audience out there. I have been already receiving some questions, but let me go through your vita shortly before. You, I mean, the one point is you became very successful with your company, yeah, as you have been describing. How did it come that you say, okay, this was or is only part of my life, but I want to go into politics? How did it come that you ran for the function of becoming a mayor of Johannesburg?
This, Andrews, was driven by my fear, my serious fear of seeing my country collapse, because Zimbabwe collapsed under our watch, in front of our own eyes. You know, Zimbabwe 30 years ago used to produce enough food to supply, was the breadbasket of Southern Africa. Today, the Zimbabwean people can't even produce maize meal. That country used to be flourishing before South Africa got our independence. And it collapsed because of the dictatorial attitude of ZANU-PF and Robert Mugabe. And I felt myself, my goodness, am I going to let South Africa collapse like the Zimbabwean, the Zimbabwe collapse? Because I watched how the current South African government is pursuing exactly the same route as Zimbabwe. So I then said, what do I do? Do I run away from this country before it collapses, or do I participate? That's when I took a decision to not run away. Let me rather save this country before it's too late, while we still have a constitutional framework. Unfortunately, Andreas and people of the world, our criminal justice system right now totally captured by government. almost total breakdown of the rule of law, total lawlessness, because the politicians have captured our criminal justice system, except the courts. So while at least the courts are still working and our constitutional framework is still there, this is the time to save the country. That's why I'm saying is running away is not the answer. And I think I can't really expect someone else to do it. I think it starts with me. Before I can ask someone else to do it, it starts with me. And I felt, let me do my best to save my country, because, as I say, life is not just really about taking my money, run away somewhere else. I don't want to be judged like the Zimbabweans and other people from other countries who've run away from their own countries, and they live in Austria, they live in the United States and other parts of the world. Ultimately, you'll be judged by the failure of your own country. So I've committed the balance of my life to do whatever it takes to save South Africa. Because if South Africa collapses, I can tell you, Andres and people of the world, the human rights abuses that you are seeing in Zimbabwe, if South Africa collapses, South Africa will be a huge burden to the world, and Zimbabwe will look like a Sunday school picnic. So I think as much as it is my responsibility and South African responsibility, it is also the responsibility of the world to hold South Africa accountable and really assist us to ensure that we don't really collapse. But under the current government, how are we going to get out of the mess that they've already put us in? Honestly, we need divine intervention.
Have you never thought, and even if it wasn't you, but for instance, I just met your daughter before on screen, yeah? They could have a dad, a father, lying in the sun chair at the swimming pool, having taken the money, bring it out of the country, like so many others do, and enjoy life and provide your family with an so-called enjoyable life. Yeah, have you never felt pressure of your family or out of your inner feelings that why should I be the one not running away? So many others do. Why do I wake up in a very, very early morning and do nothing else but sacrifice somehow? Others may or dedicate or even sacrifice your vita, your health, your life, all your time, and partly perhaps also the time you would. Yeah? Yeah, please.
Even finance, it's I had an interview this morning with one of the radio stations because we've got a tragedy about 4 years ago where a container collapsed with 3 of the miners inside. And the owners of this mine, including our own government, actually lied to us that this container cannot be retrieved. And I was approached at the beginning of this year when I started the People's Dialogue for my intervention, and I went to have a look at this. It's about 5-hour drive from here in Johannesburg to get there. I tell you, Andres, when I was there, the families of the 3 people who are still in that container, only 70 meters down. They relate the story. I tell you, if it doesn't break you as a human being, then for me, you're subhuman. I then promised them the financial assistance. Already cost me over R500,000 rands. You cannot believe the frustrations, the sabotage of our government to get this container out. We had to threaten them with legal costs. One of those days, actually, as I'm talking to you right now, our legal team with senior counsel is preparing the papers to now go to court to force the South African government with the private sector to get that container out, because they said that this container cannot be retrieved. But they said this business, as we speak, is under rescue. And there's another separate business company that wants to buy this mine. And they've committed, one of the conditions is that we will get this container out. We says we want to buy this mine, but before we start mining, we will retrieve this container. But government said the container cannot be retrieved. Right now, the families of the three miners, they've been camping outside this mine, harassed, petrol bombed by agents of government. Illegal mining is happening. It's scary what the new democratic South Africa can do to its own people, and now force us to really use our limited resources to fight them, to take them to court. It's such an embarrassment, some of the things that are happening in my country, and coming after living half of my life under the apartheid system, evil system. Now I'm living under another evil system in a democratic space. But this time around, that's why I feel we need to get the silent majority to stand up and say, not in our name. We can change this government through a constitutional framework. We don't have to get the Russians to give us AK-47s. We just need to cross on the day of election, go out and vote this corrupt government out of power. That's all we've got to do. That's instead of staying away, you think you don't have the power. No, the power is you. You are the vaccine to deal with this virus. We've got us sitting with a government that are called a virus, and the vaccine are the South African people themselves.
See, my role with compared to yours is so small, but I think I can so well understand you. I've been somehow dedicating my life to build up a university, and I see smiling faces, allowing them to make career, to make progress, to develop themselves. And you could perhaps depending on the criteria which you think are relevant, but you could have an easier life. But I think it gives you so much to see that you can change the world for the better. And this is what I feel from what you have been telling us. I've been receiving questions now, quite a number, and I promised to bring them in. Rachel Sobral is an MCI student, and she sent me the following. Hi, thanks for the opportunity to submit my question to today's distinguished guest, Herman Mashaba. Now the question. What are, in your view, the policies that your new party has that are able to challenge the ANC?
Okay. Well, I think fortunate enough, Andres, when I resigned as the mayor of the city of Johannesburg and the DA, there was an outcry from South Africans asking me to start my own political party. And then I said to my goodness, how do I start a political party? Do I have the support? Obviously, people were phoning radio stations, on social media, but I wanted scientific evidence whether I've got the support or not. I then approached my family to say, look, I've got to find a way I can engage South Africans to establish two things. Firstly, I wanted to see if I've got scientific evidence of the support. Secondly, I wanted to see if South Africans and I share the same values in terms of policies, non-negotiable policies. And when I approached my family to fund this project called the People's Dialogue as a gift to South Africa, I said to my family, if I get half a million South Africans behind me, that would really be enough good sample to start a political party. The project this initiative ran from the 6th of December until the end of February of this year. We were overwhelmed when the results came out at the end of February. 2.4 million South Africans gave us the mandate to start a political party. I was expecting 500,000, 2.4 million people. And of the 2.4 million South Africans, 125,000 of them gave us 10 to 15 page long submissions. That demonstrated the extent to which South Africans, and actually this was coming from the silent majority, those who were not voting, and they'll give you the reasons why they were not voting. So I had the mandate, but what was more important were the 5 core values which are not negotiable. Which there's 2.5 million South Africans that we are giving the mandate to to form the political party based on these 5 non-negotiable core values. First one, we want a political party that is going to drive South Africa to be a non-racial society. It's not something that we must leave it to go into church and hope that it will naturally happen. So we need someone who can assist with a non-racial society. We need to ensure that we can drive this in integration of our society. Secondly, South Africans were saying, we've tired of the socialist, communist policies. We want a free market economy. We want a system where the private sector must play the role of running our economy. We need the government to create a conducive environment for the private sector to create employment, create industries, commerce, so that our people can get employment opportunities. Thirdly, South Africans wanted to see social justice. With the most unequal society in the world, we became even more unequal after independence. You can imagine we fought the apartheid system so that we can integrate society, we can create opportunities for more South Africans. We became more unequal as a society. People of this country want social justice, they want the rule of law. Because there's no way you can build an economy in an environment of lawlessness. I don't know if you've been witnessing this from Austria and other parts of the world. The last few days, we had one of the companies in this country came out with some insult that really was totally unacceptable. But some South Africans, the minority, went out on a rampage to destroy businesses and really created havoc in our economy. No police, not a single person arrested for causing all this damage. We've experienced over the last 26 years, politicians, a big percentage of our politicians in government, not politicians, government, our government, the big percentage of them are supposed to be in jail doing long term. That they are today the senior people running government. They've stolen this country almost to the ground. We the mega capital of the world. We see the women being raped. No real consequences because obviously our jails are full. The government from time to time will release these people. They come back and commit more and more crime. South Africans wants to see the rule of law apply. But lastly, and more very important, is that this silent majority, there's 18.5 million South Africans who do not go out and vote. They are saying they want to vote for political representative directly, because right now in South Africa, you have political parties imposing public reps on them. So they are saying, look, your political party, when you form it, we want us to be responsible for the president. We must elect the president of the party directly ourselves. You cannot impose public representatives. So we committed to this. Education is going to really get a priority in our lives. If we look at the public schooling system in South Africa, 80% of public schools in South Africa are dysfunctional. That is why for the last 10 odd years we are enjoying a 30% pass rate. What kind of nonsense is this? I mean, where you are actually condemning your people to be unemployed because you pass by 30%. How can 30% be a pass rate? And the problem is with this is because our government is in an alliance with Labour, called COSATU. And the South African Communist Party, claiming to be the South African Communist Party being the vanguard of the poor people, but they're the biggest exploiters, of poor people. So in our situation, and I've made it really very clear, and I'm making it, and I'm unapologetic about this, that with our government, Labour will never veto our economic policies. When we are in government, you are there to serve society. Whether you are employed or unemployed, Labour, we respect them. It is a right to really be there. But they will never veto our economic policies. We want to have the red carpet for the private sector to create economic activity so that our people are employed. Our teachers really focus on union matters, because for the last 25, 26 years of our teachers have been dominated by the unions. They teach as and when they want to teach. There is they cannot really be managed. The performances, they're not accountable to anyone. Unions decide who must be a principal of a school and which school and so forth. You cannot allow the chaos and you think you can really be successful. These are some of the things that we will do as our policy.
Herman, now, ladies and gentlemen, we just lost Herman Mashaba. Hold on, please. I hope you can still hear me. We will reset the dialogue, the live stream. Hold on. Can you hear us again? Herman? Can you hear me? Can you hear? Herman, can you hear me? Herman?
Hello, I can hear you.
I can hear you well.
Yeah, I can hear you well as well. I've put you on speaker here.
All right. So sorry to our audience. The internet has been disconnecting us. We will continue on through our cell phones, and hope you can hear us well. Sorry for these technical disturbances. It has been occurring already while testing. Unfortunately, the line between the internet line between South Africa and Europe seems to be quite unstable. So we will continue like this. I hope you can hear as well. Sorry for the disturbances. However, I have been receiving a number of questions, and I want to bring them in now. I'll do my best to bring them in. And one was by Dennis Harris, an MCI student, if I'm not mistaken. Let me get the question now. Now, thank you for this interesting talk and the wonderful insights. The question comes from Dennis Harris, a master student at the MCI. Mr. Mashaba, you have repeatedly mentioned the so-called silent majority. How can you give confidence to the people of the Republic of South Africa or other African nations that they have the power to change the course of history simply by casting their vote?
Well, I think we can only really do this by marketing and obviously demonstrating to them their contribution to the collapse of our economies, collapse of our countries, by not actually holding politicians accountable. It's not. It can't be an event. It's a process, and you can imagine. It's a process that happened over time. That's why I said earlier on that sometimes some of our people still think we live under an oppressive kind of system where they had no power to do anything. So I think it can only happen through the process of long-term education and guiding them to actually take personal responsibility, because once people can actually understand and accept that the power lies with them, does not really lie with the politicians. But it's not something that you can just articulate it or express it once. That basically means you've got to really spend resources, make sure that you educate the society about their role to protect democracy, to have prosperous nations and economies. You need civil society that is active, that is going to hold politicians accountable. But it's not an event, it's a process that I know it's going to take time, because it's many years of people who lived under an oppressive system. So even when they are free, they still think that they are not really actually free. They undermine themselves. So we're really doing everything possible. That's why I said to you, I will send you the opinion pieces that I wrote here yesterday. Already as part of our marketing to get South Africans to really wake up to the first period.
Herman, thank you so much for this question. Can you still hear me well?
Yes, I can hear you.
Actually, I think we have some disturbances in our line now again on this tool. Can you hear me well?
Yes, from my side I can hear you very well, loud and clear.
I fear I need to redial. Let me see.
Okay, from my side I can hear you very well.
I need to redial. Sorry for that.
Okay, okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. It was saying I must hold the line, but I can hear you now.
Yeah. Again, apologies to our audience. Actually, it is not our fault, but still, you are suffering from the technical disturbances. I hope we can continue well now through our cell phones on audio quality alone, and bring in the questions you have been sending to us. Now, one question has been sent to me from Daniel. I think he's an MCI alumnus. He sits in Vienna now, and the question goes like following. I was working a couple of times in Joburg. I was very surprised the first time when I was there about the huge gap between rich and poor, especially in the main town, in the so-called old center. It is planned to modernize the city's infrastructure and to make it more safe for everyone there. I think the criminality is one of the biggest problems. How can Joburg overcome with that issue?
Andrew, it's a very good question because remember, I indicated the breakdown of the rule of law, the capture of our criminal justice system by the politicians. When you live in a society where there are no consequences, as I've indicated to you yesterday, people who are breaking down stores all over the country, getting just over 400 stores from clicks closing down. Yes, without any doubt, clicks. Their advert was insulting, but I don't understand how any government in a civilized world today can allow such criminality to be and anarchy to be order of the day. People must be arrested. If you've got an issue and people had a genuine concern, I think I sympathize with them. For me as a black person, I was really offended by this, but that does not really give me the right to really go out and stop the entire country, loot, break down stores, prevent people from going to do shopping. I think if you live in a society like this and government is very quiet, our president, even up to now, I've sent messages out to say, where is our president? Where is our law enforcement agencies to bring law and order back? Unfortunately, at the moment, we live in a country where our criminal justice system is not capable, or it does not really have probably the political will to do what is right for South Africa.
Mm-hmm. Herman, may I come in here with another question? Now, the other question has been, or the following question has been sent to me by Andreas Meislinger, who built up a very, very nice service, sending Austrian Peace Corps to all over the place, and also, for instance, to further concentration camps to keep up the history, make it available through education and so on. Now, he has been sending me the following question. Isn't it dangerous for you, Herman, to speak so frankly, to present to criticize so openly? He is concerned about your own safety and security. How would you see that?
And I think, and the person who asked that question, I'm not safe anyway. South Africa today is a meta capital of the world. So whether I do something or not, I'm not safe. So the only way I can actually protect myself, my family, my fellow South Africans, is by ensuring that we can have a change of government that actually cares. So if I'm going to worry about the criminal elements to intimidate us, because that's a modus operandi, it's used to intimidate to people. So as much as, yes, one is not naive to the dangers, but I mean danger in any way before I do anything. If I don't do anything, this country will collapse and will end up actually being like Zimbabwe, being like Somalia, where we have to really have private security to really protect ourselves, and with the economy that is going to collapse. So I think for me, I am sensitive about personal safety. But one thing that I'm accepting is the fact that I'm not safe anyway without doing anything.
All right. I received another question. Thank you so much, Herman, from Raphael Eichner. And he has been asking me, why did you step down as a mayor of Joburg? Why did you leave the office? What was the reason for that?
Yeah, very unfortunate situation. When I was approached by the DAs, one of the political parties here in South Africa, they approached me to be their mayoral candidate in 2016, and I accepted in good faith, and because I thought we shared the same values, because what they preach, if you look at their policies, very close to my own value system. But 22nd of August 2016, I was elected as the first mayor in the city of Johannesburg, replacing the ANC since the advent of our democracy. And from day one, for some reason, the DA and I were not on the same path, because they probably misread me or I misread them. But fortunately enough, I can't say I misread them, because they articulate this in their policies for wanting to unseat the ANC commitment to all South Africans. Right now, unfortunately, I can confirm it is written in all the publications and the reasons why I left them. DA is not committed to the advancement of black people. DA is not committed to unseating the ANC. And that really created a problem for me. When I really wanted to spend money in poor communities, they did not want me to spend money in poor communities, going to the extent of insulting me, that why must I spend their residents' money in communities that do not vote for them. And I wasn't in politics to serve political parties. I was in politics in public office to serve society, particularly poor people who don't even have toilets. And you are telling me I must go and cut grass in the white areas. When I only have so much, I've got only 10 rands to spend. Am I going to spend that 10 rands to go and cut grass in the white area, or am I going to give supply toilets to people who've lived in an informal settlement for the last 15, 20 years without toilets? What are you going to do? You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out that you have to give dignity to that. And we started having issues with the DA on such policies that wasn't servicing their own constituency. And I wasn't really there to, as I say, to serve political parties, and that created a problem where there was really literally, by the time I announced the resignation, there was a total breakdown of the relationship. And even myself, I don't want to be associated with a political party like that. That promises South Africans that they want to create one South Africa for all. But when they must practice it, they will literally refuse to practice it. So that is why even this last weekend they had their policy conference where they don't really recognize the ills of the past. In their policies, as far as they are concerned, race does not really matter. Race matters in South Africa. We've had 300 years of colonialism, 70 years of apartheid government, 26 years of ANC misrule, of the corruption and so forth. So, and we're the biggest casualties are poor black people. So we needed to really deal with these matters in that manner.
Mm-hmm. Herman, thank you so much for answering this question. Question. I have received another one from Xavier Renaud. He sits in Lyon now in France, and he asks you, now, if you became the president of South Africa, the state president, what would be the 3 measures you would immediately take?
Unless you're not running government or running business,
I know.
It's not an academic exercise. There's so much one needs to really do. We've got massive infrastructure backlog. We've got massive unemployment rate. We've got a criminal justice system that is not working. We have our public service run by patronage network of the ANC. So you have to really run all these evils and correct all of them simultaneously. You can't just really do one. That's why you've got various ministries that can tackle this. One, the task with the education has to ensure that we provide the best education ever for our society. For unemployment, we've got to attract the business community to come and invest in South Africa, so that they can provide employment opportunities and bring money into our country. We have to empower the police force, have a police force that is free from political intervention. So these are things that are really very critical. We have to invest in our infrastructure. If you look at our rail network infrastructure, how it has been destroyed the last 26 years, it's actually a shame. So poor people don't have a proper safe mode of public transport network because government, the focus the last 26 years was to change names of everything. In the meantime, the infrastructure was collapsing. So yes, these are some of things and programs that one will have to address. I mean, our health system, it's in a shocking state. I mean, our people today, going to public hospitals, they think, you are actually going to your last leg of your life. That's how bad the majority of our health facilities have been destroyed by the ANC government over the last 26 years. So we've got to really get the Minister of Health to really work around the clock, putting professional people to run our hospitals, build more hospitals. As I say, we need to capacitate our police and law enforcement agencies and free them from political interference. Mm-hmm. These are some of the programs that one has to embark on as a matter of agency.
Thank you so much. I just got the message that we are slowly running out of time, but perhaps I may ask a final question coming out of my sphere, and it has to do with education, which you have been raising quite often today. Now, what would be your expectation towards universities? What would you think is the key results we should deliver?
Well, for me, Andres, and that's something that I'm articulating quite clearly in our blueprint that is on our website. I think if you want the universities to produce the kind of skills that can grow your economy and your country, you don't start at the university level. You've got to really start at elementary levels with early childhood centers. And that's something that South Africa is dismally failed on. So that, if you don't really give the kids the right educational framework at an early stage, you unfortunately destroy their lives. We need, for me, I believe, we need as South Africa to start investing heavily in our early childhood centers, so that every child in South Africa has got the place where they go to. And it must not just really be facilities that looks after children when their parents are at home. There must be training programs, teaching them not just formal education, even including their value system, their consciousness. Because one thing that is of major concern to me about South Africa is that we've lost the sense of value and consciousness. We have a government that does not fear God, and you can imagine if you operate in a society like that where you've got a government that does not really fear God, so these are values, family values. Make sure that we bring strong families, because without strong families, unfortunately, you have got no chance of ever making it. So universities are crucial, but at the end of the day, for me, South Africa, looking at it and the problems that we've got, I think the focus has to really start with early childhood training program centers.
I need to come to an end, dear Herman, dear audience. Thank you so much to you, to our distinguished guest of today, and also to you out there all over the world where you are, where you have been joining our live talk. Please let me once again apologize for the technical problems which have been brought to us by whoever knows, and we will do our best to find out. But it seems to have been the internet line between South Africa and Europe, which has been already reported to us to be quite weak and unstable. However, I hope you have been enjoying this live talk as much as I did. One could feel and can still feel the energy, the inspiration, and the mission our distinguished guest of today has been bringing to us and to all of us. Thank you so much, Herman Mashaba, once again, and let us wish you all the best for your future, and stay healthy and safe, keep your energy, and be successful to work for society. We really have been enjoying a wonderful guest of today.
Thank you very much, Andreas, and to everyone who participated in this very important engagement. And I look forward post-COVID-19 that I can visit your university so that we can have one-on-one engagement. And actually, for your information, the SA Airways, the airlines, you remember, was supposed to have been to your university in March, and the airline is in financial difficulty. They are unable to really give me my refund, and so I'm not sure if I'll ever get my refund, because remember, I paid for my flight and then I was going to get a refund from you, and it doesn't look like I'm going to get my money back. But what I will do, one day I will hold the South African government accountable. I will sue them for my money. So they are the shareholder, and they are the ones who actually destroyed this airline.
And elsewise come up to us, and we will try to bail you out or to solve this problem with our means. Okay. Thank you so much once again, Herman Mashaba. Let me also look briefly into the near future. On September 18th, so in a week from now, next Friday, we will meet our alumni in Berlin, Germany, in the Austrian embassy to Berlin, and meet our alumni there. So this will take place on September 18th, on Friday, September 18th, in the afternoon. The invitations have been sent out already, and so we look forward to this. On October 9th, we will be happy to welcome Horst Leitner, the Chief Executive of Hofer Retail. Now, thank you again, Herman Mashaba. Thank you for sending also the questions, and a very, very warm welcome and gratitude goes to Helmut Mock. Helmut Mock, a dear friend of Herman Mashaba and a friend of the MCI, who has been bringing us together and allowing us to do this event of today. Thank you so much, Helmut.
Thank you, and good night.
Good night. All the best.
Yeah.